Imagine spending like thousands of dollars, right? And weeks of your life getting your e-commerce store just flawlessly translated.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge undertaking.
Right. So say into French. You've hired a localization consultant, you've agonized over the marketing copy, and you are finally ready to capture the European market.
Sounds like a dream scenario.
It is. Until 3 weeks later, you realize that every single new product you've added this month is just sitting on your live French storefront in glaring English.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's the ultimate silent failure.
And worse, your Shopify dashboard is telling you everything is perfectly fine.
Exactly. I mean, in e-commerce, friction is the enemy.
Yeah.
Right? Hitting a block of untranslated text right above an add to cart button is, well, it's like throwing a brick into the customer journey.
Yeah.
The immersion is just broken instantly.
And the natural instinct when you see that broken immersion is to assume the software is broken.
Oh, 100%.
You think, I installed the translation app, I pressed the button, why is this refusing to work? And it drives merchants down this rabbit hole of frustration, which often leads them to throw money at expensive third-party solutions to fix a problem they don't actually understand.
Which is exactly why we need to dissect the August 2026 guide.
Yes.
The one titled What Shopify Translate and Adapt doesn't translate. It acts as like a diagnostic map for navigating these exact symptoms. Tracing that broken customer experience back to its root architectural cause.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our goal today in this deep dive is to map out what is genuinely a hard limitation of Shopify's native translation app and what is actually just a hidden settings switch. And of course, the exact moment when it actually makes sense to open your wallet for a paid translation tool.
Right.
So let's start with the most common culprit behind that silent failure we just talked about. The broken button illusion.
Yeah, that's a classic.
You install the Translate and Adapt app, you click Auto Translate, and everything looks perfect. But a week later, you update a product description, and mysteriously, the new content stays in English. Why didn't it sync?
Well, because the auto-translate function is not continuous.
Okay.
What's fascinating here is that it says a deliberate workflow design choice, not a software bug. I mean, we are so used to modern software being a continuous live sync.
Yeah, exactly.
We expect our cloud apps to act like a live security feed, constantly monitoring the database and updating the storefront in real time. But the native translation architecture just doesn't work that way.
So it's more like taking a Polaroid picture.
Yes, that is a perfect way to look at it.
You set up your products, you click the Auto Translate button, and the app takes a snapshot of exactly what is in your database at that exact millisecond.
Right.
It translates that snapshot. But if a new product walks into the frame tomorrow...
The camera's already put away.
Exactly. The app ignores it.
Yeah.
It's not going to take another picture until you explicitly tell it to by pressing the button again in every single language you support.
That Polaroid analogy perfectly captures the mechanism. And understanding why Shopify built it this way is really crucial.
Why did they?
Well, imagine a massive enterprise store with 50,000 SKUs, right? And they're translating into 10 different languages.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If the system attempted a live, instantaneous machine translation sync, every single time a merchant fixed a typo in a product title, the server load would be astronomical.
Ah, I see.
So they made it an asynchronous batch process. It forces merchants to build translation into their ongoing inventory workflow, rather than, treating it as a passive set-it-and-forget-it installation.
But wait, if I add a new product and the camera doesn't take a picture of it, why doesn't my dashboard flash a giant red warning saying translation missing?
Because from the database's perspective, there isn't an error.
What do you mean?
When a translation doesn't exist for a specific string of text, the storefront simply defaults to pulling the primary language. The system is designed for graceful degradation.
Okay.
It assumes you would rather show the customer the product in English than show them a blank page or a broken 404 error.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, so the buyer sees a jarring shift in language, but the server just sees a successful data retrieval.
So how do you actually audit this if the system isn't screaming at you with error codes?
You have to monitor the admin status labels. The backend defines 3 specific states. There's translated, which means exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Then there's untranslated, which is the state every single new product lands in until you press that button again. But the one that catches people off guard is outdated.
Outdated meaning like you translated it once, but then someone went back and tweaked the original English product description.
Precisely. The source text changed after the translation was made. So the system recognizes that the timestamp on the English text is newer than the timestamp on the French text.
Oh, got it.
And so it flags the French text as out of sync.
But wait, if I have a massive catalog and I just go in and blindly match the auto-translate button again to catch all the new and outdated stuff, aren't I going to overwrite all the careful manual tweaks a human translator made to my other products?
Not at all.
Because if I paid a localizer to perfectly capture the nuance of a marketing campaign, I don't want a machine translation paving over it just because I added a new t-shirt to the store.
And that is exactly why the Polaroid method exists. Rerunning auto-translate is entirely safe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the system is architected to only fill in content that currently sits in the untranslated or outdated state. It explicitly skips over any string of text that has a manual human edit registered to it.
Okay, that is a huge relief.
Yeah, the machine will not overwrite the human.
So pressing the button again is completely safe. That clears up a huge operational bottleneck. But let's say, you push the button, the system updates, and yet you go to your live site, and a specific piece of text is still stubbornly sitting there in English.
Ah, yes.
This is where we run into the hard exclusions. The app simply won't translate certain things.
Right. There are 6 explicitly excluded content types that translate and adapt will not handle natively.
Okay, what are they?
Collection filters, manual payment instructions, tags, product images, some third-party app content, and forms built with the Shopify Forms app.
I want to break a few of those down because, excluded doesn't necessarily mean untranslatable. Take tags, for example. Product tags, blog tags. A merchant might spend hours trying to figure out how to translate summer collection in their tag list.
Yeah, and they'd be wasting their time. Tags are a hard stop.
Really?
At the platform level, tags are documented as completely untranslatable. It's an architectural boundary.
Okay.
Shopify treats tags as internal routing labels for your own organization, like how you build automated collections or filter your own admin dashboard. They are not designed to be storefront copy meant for the buyer's eyes.
I see.
If you are relying on tags for front-end customer navigation, you're fighting the platform's core logic.
Don't fight the platform. Got it. What about images? Obviously, a translation app isn't going to magically rewrite the pixels inside a JPEG if I have like a sizing chart with English text baked into it.
Correct. The app cannot edit image files. However, you can swap the entire image file natively based on the language context.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so if you have a French-sized chart graphic, you can tell Shopify's backend to serve that specific image file only when the user is browsing in the French locale. The text inside the image is excluded, but the file slot itself is localizable.
Though I understand there's a major exception to that file swapping rule when it comes to brand assets.
Yes, logos.
Yeah.
If you upload your logo through the Global Brand Assets section of the settings, it is locked. It cannot be localized by market.
Okay.
If you have a different logo designed for your Japanese market versus your American market, you have to bypass the Brand Assets section entirely. You upload the regional logo directly within the specific theme settings for that market.
Okay, now I have to push back on something because this next exclusion would drive any rational user completely insane.
Let's hear it.
We just listed forms created using the Shopify Forms app as one of the 6 hard exclusions that the translation app will not touch. Wait, so Shopify explicitly says forms are excluded, but then in another breath says forms can be seamlessly translated into 32 languages. That is a massive contradiction that would make any user think their site is permanently broken.
It absolutely reads like a contradiction, yeah.
Yeah.
But it comes down to a difference in underlying mechanisms.
How so?
Think of translate and adapt in Shopify Forms as 2 completely separate corporate buildings sitting next to each other.
Okay.
Translate and adapt is incredibly powerful, but its security badge doesn't grant it access inside the Shopify Forms building.
Yeah.
If your email newsletter pop-up is in English, the Translate app can't fix it because it's literally not allowed in the door.
Ah, so it's a jurisdictional issue.
Exactly. You have to walk into the Forms building to do the translation.
Right.
The pop-up translates within its own isolated app settings. You open the form editor, navigate to its specific languages section, and handle the localization there.
Oh, I see.
And the internal tool is robust, supporting 32 languages, 19 of which can be auto-translated if your primary store language is English.
Wow.
This separation is a prime example of why auditing a tech stack requires understanding ecosystems. A limitation in one specific app does not mean a limitation across the entire platform.
So you have to know which building holds the data. That makes sense. But let's say we've done all that. We press the button again to fix the new products. We walked into the separate forms ecosystem to fix the newsletter pop-up.
Yep.
The admin dashboard proudly labels everything as translated. You open an incognito window, load up your French storefront, and the customer is still looking at English text. What is happening?
Now we are shifting from how translations are generated in the back end to how they are actually served to the buyer on the front end.
Okay.
And this introduces two massive hurdles, the hidden data fields and the visibility gates.
Let's tackle the hidden data first, because if I search for a specific English phrase in the translation app's search bar and it comes up empty, my assumption is that the text simply doesn't exist in the system.
And that assumption would be wrong. There are 13 translatable resource types that simply do not populate in the visual self bar. They are entirely hidden from the standard user interface.
If the search bar intentionally hides 13 categories of text, how on earth is a user supposed to translate what they literally can't see without exporting a massive spreadsheet?
Well, to expose these hidden resources, you actually do have to bypass the visual interface entirely and export the raw language CSV file.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, when you pull that database export, you suddenly see all the hidden fields, customer email templates, packing slip routing, and most importantly, meta fields.
Meta fields. Anyone who has tinkered with their store design eventually runs into meta fields.
It's absolute.
For anyone unfamiliar, meta fields are essentially custom digital filing cabinets you attach to your products. Like if you use a third-party app to display estimated delivery dates, or you have a highly customized care instructions tab that doesn't fit in the standard description box, that text lives in a meta field.
Precisely. And because it's stored in that separate digital filing cabinet, the translation app's basic search bar simply can't see it.
But why hide it? Why intentionally cripple the search bar?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about user experience and database protection. The visual interface is designed to protect the average merchant from being overwhelmed by hundreds of highly technical raw JSON strings and complex database fields.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. If a non-technical user accidentally altered a routing string while trying to translate a word, they could break the entire checkout flow. The visual UI is a padded room. It's safe.
Yeah.
But the cost of that safety is that advanced fields become practically invisible. The CSV export is the escape hatch for developers and advanced merchants who actually need to access the raw data.
Okay, so you use the escape hatch, you export the CSV, find the hidden meta field for your care instructions, you translate it, you import the spreadsheet back into Shopify.
Yep.
The database officially holds the French translation, but the customer still sees English on the live site.
That means you are failing at the visibility gate. Just because the database holds the translation doesn't mean the server is legally allowed to render it on the screen. The store's architecture has to be explicitly configured to deliver it.
What blocks the server from rendering it?
Several things. First, the most basic. If your active theme lacks a language selector, the buyer literally has no way to request the French version, regardless of what's in the database.
Oh, right.
Second, and this trips up a lot of merchants, the language has to be explicitly mapped to a specific market in your settings.
How so?
If you translate your store into German, but haven't added German to your designated European market routing settings, the server won't serve it to a user in Berlin.
So the translation exists, but it has no geographic jurisdiction to appear.
Exactly. And finally, your theme code has to physically support the rendering of the language. This is especially critical for right-to-left languages like Arabic or Hebrew.
Yeah.
If the theme's CSS isn't built to flip the layout architecture, the translation either won't serve or it will serve completely broken.
I can feel the collective exhaustion of every e-commerce manager listening to this right now, exporting massive spreadsheets, hunting for invisible meta fields, checking market jurisdiction routing.
It's a lot.
It is. And this is the exact moment a merchant usually throws their hands up, decides the native tool is garbage, and goes looking for a paid app to just make the problem go away.
It is the primary catalyst for upgrading, yeah.
Yeah.
The friction just boils over.
But let's examine what opening your wallet actually buys you, because there is a massive mirage surrounding paid translation apps.
Oh, definitely.
Before we get into the paid features, what is the actual hard ceiling of the free native tool?
The Native Translate and Adapt tool is entirely free, but it offers up to 2 languages fully auto-translated by machine learning. However, you can manually translate, or use that CSV import we just discussed, for up to 20 languages total.
So you aren't forced to pay a monthly fee just to have a third language on your site, provided you are willing to paste the translation in yourself.
Correct. The platform gives you the slot for free. However, there are 14 specific languages that the native infrastructure will not touch at all, even manually.
Really? Like what?
Languages like Bengali, Tagalog, Hawaiian, and Scots Gaelic. If your target market speaks one of those 14, you have to seek alternative solutions immediately.
Let's say you decide to bypass the manual work and pay for a premium app. Looking at the landscape in August 2026, you have major players like Weglot starting around $17 a month for a 10,000-word capacity.
Right.
Or Langify around $17.50 a month for unlimited manual and a 10,000-word AI allowance. $17 a month is a steal if it magically fixes everything we just talked about. But what does paying that monthly fee definitively not fix?
The biggest, most glaring wall that money cannot bypass is the checkout page.
Wait, I can pay for a premium, top-tier translation app, and it still can't translate my checkout page?
No. Both Weglot and Langify, and any other third-party app, are forced to route any checkout wording back to Shopify's native checkout and system content. They cannot touch the document object model of the checkout page.
Here's where it gets really interesting because that is wild. That is like buying a high-end luxury 4x4 vehicle because you want to drive off-road. It doesn't matter how expensive or capable the vehicle is. If the platform, the literal road itself, has a locked steel gate that won't allow checkout translations to pass, the expensive car still can't get you to your destination.
I like that analogy. And it's a locked gate for a very good reason: security.
Right.
The checkout page is where PCI compliance, credit card tokenization, and massive fraud prevention systems operate. If Shopify allowed a third-party app to inject scripts or rewrite text on the checkout page, it would create a massive vulnerability for malicious code injection.
Wow, okay.
So the architecture strictly walls it off. The premium apps aren't failing. They're being explicitly blocked by the platform's security mandate.
But don't a lot of these premium apps promise 100% translation coverage in their marketing materials?
They do, but you have to read that as marketing copy, not a technical guarantee. There is absolutely no published methodology or tested app list backing up what 100% coverage actually measures.
Oh, I see.
If the core platform explicitly blocks access to the checkout, 100% coverage is architecturally impossible.
Makes sense.
Furthermore, translating complex collection filters with third-party apps can be incredibly messy. If the app tries to overlay a translation on a filter without native integration, it can actually break the filtering logic entirely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, returning 0 products when a customer clicks size large, for instance.
So if a paid app doesn't magically fix the checkout and might actively break my inventory filters, what is the actual utility of paying for one?
Paid apps absolutely have their place, but it's about scale and velocity, not magic fixes. They are primarily for scaling machine translation far beyond that 2-language free limit. More importantly, they are for merchants with highly volatile catalogs.
Like fast fashion or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If your inventory changes so fast, say hundreds of new SKUs daily, that a human cannot realistically keep up with clicking the auto-translate button, a paid app automates that continuous sync. It provides the live security feed we talked about earlier instead of the Polaroid snapshot.
That makes perfect sense. It's an automation upgrade. So let's bring this all together. We've deconstructed the native app, we've explained the exclusions, we've illuminated the hidden database fields, and we've mapped the limits of paid alternatives.
Right.
How does a merchant actually apply this without losing their mind? Let's say a merchant, we'll call her Sarah, is staring at a half-translated site right now. How does she organically debug this?
Well, Sarah shouldn't just instantly buy an app. She needs a methodical diagnostic process. First, she needs to browse her own storefront exactly as a customer would in the secondary language.
Okay.
Go screen by screen and write down every single English string she encounters. Find the visual gaps.
Okay, so she has her list of unfalling dominoes.
Next, she takes that list and cross-references it against the hard exclusions we discussed. Is she trying to translate a tag? Stop. It won't work. Once she's cleared those out, she must go back to the Translate and Adapt app and run auto-translate again in every language.
I really want to emphasize this step because pricing a paid app before hitting auto-translate again is like paying a consultant to rebuild your entire server farm when you just had a typo in your routing table. Hit the button first.
Yes, exactly.
It forces the Polaroid to take a new picture, catching all the untranslated and outdated gaps that have quietly piled up.
Pushing that button will likely solve 80% of Sarah's list. For the remaining 20%, she moves to the separate ecosystems. She walks into the Shopify Forms app to fix her pop-ups natively. She checks her market settings to ensure the visibility gates are open.
And if there are still stubborn English phrases left?
That's when she uses the escape hatch. She exports the CSV file, hunts down the hidden meta fields like her custom care instructions, translates them, and imports the database back.
Okay.
Once Saris has completed an entire sequence, she looks at her list one last time. Whatever is still left on that piece of paper,
Yeah.
and only what is left, is her actual structural translation gap. That remaining gap is what she evaluates a paid app against.
It's about being methodical, isolating the symptoms, understanding the platform's architecture, and then escalating to paid tools.
This raises an important question, though, or rather, it highlights how this audit methodology, isolating symptoms, checking core documentation, eliminating user error, and then escalating, it is a masterclass in troubleshooting that the listener can apply to any software stack, not just Shopify.
Absolutely. To summarize our mission today, Shopify's native translation infrastructure is an incredibly powerful tool for the unbeatable price of free. But its power relies entirely on you knowing where its architectural boundaries are drawn and remembering to actually press the button to force the system to take a new snapshot of your inventory.
It requires the merchant to understand the logic of the platform rather than just treating it as a black box.
And whether you are managing a massive international business or you just love understanding the invisible architecture of the digital world, knowing how to bypass these artificial limitations saves an immense amount of time and resources.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I want to go back to that massive locked gate we discussed regarding paid apps.
The security restrictions around the checkout process.
Yes. The fact that the checkout is strictly locked down by Shopify, completely impenetrable even to premium, expensive translation apps.
It is a hard architectural boundary that cannot be crossed by a third party.
Which leaves us with a fascinating and maybe slightly provocative thought to mull over. If the single most critical part of global commerce, the actual exchange of money, the moment of transaction, is inherently walled off from localization by anyone other than the platform itself, who ultimately controls the future of cross-border commerce? Is it the independent merchants trying to connect with global buyers, or is it the monolithic platforms that dictate the exact language and interface of the transaction?
When the platform controls the final step of the funnel, they control the global reach. It's a profound question of where the true power lies in modern e-commerce architecture.
Something to think about the next time you're troubleshooting your digital storefront, waiting to see which doors the platform will actually allow you to open. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of translation. We'll catch you next time.